Hi, how are you? Happy New Year. I can't believe we're halfway through January already, well, almost all the way through January. The time just flies, and I've been a little bit slow to come back on this year and do my videos. But I've been taking my time and working out what my themes are going to be, what I'm going to focus on, and I feel like I'm ready to share that now. And I hope you're doing that too. I think it's always really important. At least pick out a theme of, what you're going to focus on for the next few months. And then it gives you some direction and you'll know what not to worry about and not to pay too much attention to and be really clear about what you want to achieve over the coming months. So I'll go through that. My three main focuses in terms of what I'm going to be delivering here for you guys in terms of sort of just education and sharing. Actually, I've made a little note. I'm sharing three things in particular. I'm going to be sharing my recommendations for peace, love, and joy. So everything's going to be guided towards how to expand your peace, your love, and your joy for yourself and for your life and for the people around you. And three other ways, sort of challenges we're going to look at is I really want to do a lot of talk in the next few months, particularly around mental health. This, huge pandemic, if you like, we can use that word, around mental health, particularly for the young people. I'm also going to be talking and diving more into empaths and what it means to be empathic and the challenges involved in that. And, hints, tips, resources on how to find your resilience and your strength in that. And the other little thing I want to introduce is more community, because I want to kind of bring these three topics together. So I'll explain that in a second, but we're looking at creating a community of empaths and what I'm going to call sensitive souls. So if you feel you're an empath or a sensitive soul, then this might be a lovely community for you. And I'm actually going to pick some dates and we'll actually have some community events here at my clinic in my home. So they're the three main things. So before we jump in, I do hope you've had a lovely Christmas and New Year and you've enjoyed the summer holidays, because here in Australia, we're going through our summer. It's been very mixed weather, like I think it is in a few places. We've had so much rain. It's been humid and damp and cold some days, and then other days really hot, like really high temperatures. So the earth is really going through some transformation and some change, as we all are. So just very quickly touching into the astrology, as you know I like to do. We have just recently moved, Pluto has moved into Aquarius. Now, I'm Aquarius. I've got a lot of Aquarian energy, so I get very excited about that. Briefly, the Aquarian energy is very much about our independence, and it's something that's really important to me. We love freedom and independence and having the ability and the freedom to do pretty much whatever we want. We don't like to be told. And Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is the revolutionary planet, who again likes to shake things up and make sudden changes. So they do say we're potentially going to have lots of sudden changes in weather and climate and planetary status. So we might get earthquakes, volcanoes, more radical weather. So kind of just be prepared for that. The other one with Pluto, I had a little note here. I didn't know quite so much about Pluto. Pluto is also revolutionary. So we're definitely going through a big evolution at the moment. Transformation and evolution are going to be skyrocketing this year. So again, that's why I suggest you really think about what you want to do and what you want to transform and change. Okay. So it says Pluto represents transformation and rebirth. So this is a whole new beginning. So apparently Pluto is going to be in Aquarius. It's going to be in Aquarius for like 6 months, and it's going out for a month or two, and then back in for 20 years. So we're going to have 20 years of transformation. Can you imagine? So you need to get used to change, right? Embrace change and decide what change you want to make. My first and strongest recommendation. Okay. So Pluto, representing transformation and rebirth, will force us to undergo change when necessary. Pluto also represents a challenge or a power struggle. So that's probably going to be the struggle of the old and the new, because we're moving into a new dimension, a new earth. And I've talked about that before. Um, One never gives. Okay, this planet forces us to confront our shadow self, our tempers and our passions, and come out stronger. So you've really got to look deep within yourself, do some self-reflection. Go, what are the old habits and the old patterns that I've been carrying with me for a long time, and they actually need to change because I need to transform, upgrade, expand, and redefine who I am and what I'm going to be doing. So, lots of change, people. Get ready. Okay, so I'm not going through huge transformation. There are a few things I'm changing, but a couple of the things that I have become very passionate about, and I'm probably really going to focus on those. I talked about mental health, empaths, and community. I hope I'm not repeating myself, but I did try to record this video a little bit earlier and I stuffed it up and I had to go back and start again. So I may have actually not repeated that, but maybe I have. So I'm really focusing generally on bringing out more of my teaching. It's something I just love and I want, and I think it's a really economical way for me to if you like, sort of pass on my insights and wisdoms to anyone else who's interested. I'm hoping there's going to be lots more empaths stepping up. I'm hoping to pull all the empaths out of the closet. So let's talk about empaths for a few minutes. I'll be doing more detail on these, so this is just a broad brush on how we're looking at all of this. So empaths are highly sensitive people. We are very sensitive to emotions. We're also sensitive to energy in our environment. We're also sensitive to pollutants in our environment. It drives my family mad, but I'm very sensitive to smells. I've got a sensitivity to different foods, and we've seen that in the younger generation. They're all becoming more and more sensitive to additives and preservatives and things like gluten and dairy and anything that is artificial or genetically modified. And really most of our foods and stuff that's in the environment, our makeup, our perfumes, not mine because I'm very pure. There's a bit of a story there too, that's why I'm laughing, but I do prefer to keep everything as organic and as natural as possible. Now, people can be sensitive to those things as well. I'm not saying they're not, but it's that sensitivity of empaths. So I've just touched there on the sensitivity to things around us in our environment and what we're eating and what we expose ourselves to. Empaths can also be sensitive to light and sound. So if you're in a noisy environment, if there's lots of people around you, I had an example of a young client who's been to see me recently and really struggling to keep his energy up. And he'll say when he goes out with his mates or they go to the mall or they go to the beach and there's lots of people around them, he comes home exhausted. He's almost not really capable of doing anything the next day. And I've got quite a few clients like that, especially the younger people. And a lot of our young people are now empaths because this emotional vibration is much higher than it used to be. And we're just more vulnerable and sensitive to what is going on in our environments. So the environments, if you go to the mall, especially one of the food halls, it's noisy. There's lots of people and shouting and the music's playing. And I actually don't go there anymore. For years, I've found them overly, a bit hyper. And, I always think it's the least attractive part of our humanity in a way. So I like to go and I can go to the mall for a little while. I used to love shopping, but now I keep it to a minimum. But I get myself home and, find a quiet place to have lunch if I'm out. And I'm very aware of not overloading my senses. And we need to do that. We need to be more and more aware of our energy body. So these are things that we all have to practice and learn as empaths. So one of the things is we're very sensitive to emotion, but it's the emotional energy, because remember, emotion is energy in motion. So it's the motion, the vibration, and the frequency of the emotion, the tensity, the aggravation, the frustration, the rushing around that's in our environment. So we need to be sensitive to our own needs and keep that to a minimum. The other thing is we can be very sensitive to other people's emotions, as I'm kind of saying, but we will actually take that on. And for many empaths, it's difficult to distinguish between what is other people's emotions and what are our own emotions. Because I said in my video before Christmas how we absorb rather than observe. People who are not highly sensitive, who are not empathic to this degree, they will observe other people's emotions and other people's stress or distress. They'll know when people are upset and they'll feel for them, but they don't take it on. They don't absorb the stress. So for an empath, their nervous system really gets a hammering when they're in busy, stressful environments. So I'm going to break all of this down over another video, and I'll be talking about how to support yourself, nourish yourself, and build up your resilience. Okay? So calling all empaths. We've got to step out of the closet now. We've always been considered to be sensitive, and sensitivity has been seen as a weakness. But I believe we are coming into a new time and a new era where our sensitivity is our strength. And someone's pointed out to me just recently that that's a new book that's come out. I've ordered it. So sensitivity is the new strength, because we're coming from our heart rather than coming from our head. We're coming from our emotions rather than our thoughts. And that's a good thing. You know, it's good that we're sensitive because it means we're intuitive. We just have to learn how to deal with it and how to look after ourselves. So the other main topic I said I'm going to be working with and looking at is mental health. Because I've said numerous times, mental health, in my experience, is not a mental problem. It's actually an emotional problem. You ask anyone who's going through mental health challenges, it's all related to how you feel. If you're feeling stress, anxiety, then you're feeling a lot of fear and variations on the theme of fear. That's what anxiety is. If you're feeling depressed, and if you flip between the two, it's still, the depression is that heaviness, the burden, the lack of joy, the lack of motivation. We cannot step into our joy because we're feeling either things like shame, or mostly it's repressed anger. And there's actually, some valid scientific research on that, where there's repressed anger. It shuts down the heart, and it makes people feel heavy and burdened and depressed. Okay? And I do believe there's a link here between the increase in the number of empaths and the increase in mental health or emotional well-being. When we become overwhelmed by our emotions, because we feel the emotions in the body, we feel it in the heart, we feel it in our gut. People who've got gut issues, any kind of digestive issue, that is often related to the emotional turmoil that their gut or their heart is going through. And we don't like that discomfort. So we go into our head and we try to rationalize what's going on in our body in terms of the emotional turmoil. So this is why we go to our head and we try to think our way logically and rationally about what we're feeling. But the feelings, I always tell my clients, are not logical and rational. So thinking about them doesn't really help. But we get stuck in our head, and our brain loves to take over and trying to work it all out. But that's not the answer, and will be going through ways of addressing those issues. So to me, it makes perfect sense that as we get more empaths, we're getting more emotional overwhelm and more emotional distress, and what most of the medical world would call mental health issues. Okay, so I'm going to be coming back to those topics. If they're topics that you're interested in, please stay in touch. Give me a like and write a little comment. Tell me what your thoughts are, what your thoughts about being an empath are. Do you get overwhelmed by other people's emotions? And the big thing is then do you take on that responsibility that I talked about in my previous video? Do you take on that burden and the responsibility of trying to make everyone else feel better? So that's a big topic that I'm going to be getting into in the next few weeks. If you know anyone who's struggling with mental health, then please stay tuned, particularly our children, our teenagers, and our young adults who are, going through their HSC this year. I've done some videos on HSC earlier at the end of last year in my earlier videos, my stress-free HSC. I'll be doing more of that this year and probably earlier on in the year rather than leaving it right up to HSC time. And so if you've got people going through that, and if you feel kind of burdened by being responsible for other people, if you're a bit of a martyr, then please stay tuned. And this is going to be a community where we can all work together and help each other. So I'm going to have different events coming up. I'm very much going to be focusing on my teaching. I'll be teaching various workshops on these topics, teaching you how to step into your resilience, into your personal power. Very Aquarian, very revolutionary Pluto, stirring up this sense of being independent and stepping away back into our own personal power and away from kind of the mass hysteria that goes on out there sometimes, and conforming into how we feel other people think we should behave. So that's all the judging ourselves, right? And I had 3 lovely cards that came up as I was preparing this little chat today. I don't want it to get too long. The first one was bursting out of your cocoons, and I think this is particularly for us empaths. We need to come out of our cocoons. I'm dragging all the empaths out of the closet. We don't want to have to hide away anymore. We don't want to hide our sensitivity. It is a beautiful gift, and we have to learn how to use it. So I'll just read a little bit of this. It said, can you sense that one phase of your life is ending and a new one is beginning? Do you feel like you're on the verge of an exciting new possibilities but aren't sure where they'll come from? Does it seem that your life as you've known it is crumbling before your eyes? I hope not too dramatically. You aren't imagining things, nor are you in danger. You're simply breaking free from the past karma and releasing your spirit to a greater tomorrow. So again, very Pluto in Aquarius, whole new beginning, new rebirth. So stepping into your empathic, intuitive, sensitive abilities and making them a gift and not a burden. Okay, the next card that came up was the Judge archetype. So these are the archetypes. And what this was saying was offering only destructive criticism. Now, often we are our own worst enemies. We criticize ourselves. And I wrote the note, self-criticism without compassion. We need to be more compassionate and more self-understanding and more self-care. So misusing criticism to tear ourselves down. Okay, we want to understand how to care for ourselves and support ourselves, and that's my mission. And I just love this 4th little card. It's very pretty deck of cards, this one. The 4 of Fire said, we're stepping into a new creative phase, celebration, pleasure, and harmony in relationships. Dancers have partners, singers have musicians, helping them create sweet music. And I find others who are in sync with me and my desires. So it really brought in that whole idea of community. It's a time for celebrating friendship and all that others bring to my life. A time for revelry and relishing the pleasures of being in good company. Making magic together with others is the focus at this time. So we're all going to be working together. We're going to be understanding our empathic challenges, our mental and emotional challenges, and how to really step into our personal power and our independent individuality. We're going to master our IP. So stay tuned and have a beautiful January. I'll be back maybe within a week or two, and I'll put together some plans. I'll have some dates for you, and we'll start really stepping up, supporting yourself, and making a big difference to the world. Okay, God bless. Take care till I see you again. Bye.